Hi, Deanna. Thanks so much for joining the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Absolutely. And to get started, can you give the audience an indication of your background and history in design?
Absolutely. So currently, I work as a technical program manager for Adobe's design system, really enjoying that. And prior to this role, I actually worked in HR. So it's a complete 180 from what I was doing before. Prior to this, I worked in recruiting. I did that at Adobe, and I also did that for a couple of other industries, including financial services and consulting. And so bringing that all back, I learned a lot of skills that I applied to my role today.
I love that. I love hearing about individuals breaking in from other industries and into design systems, product. Tell us a little bit about that. What drove you towards design systems, and how did you actually learn the necessary knowledge to kind of take on those roles?
It all started with a mentor who told me that I needed to keep my mind more open to my career possibilities. At the time, I was laser focused on thinking, how can I move up? What can I do to kind of get to that next level? And I wasn't considering all the possibilities. And so she urged me to just explore, get to know folks. And about, I want to say 5 rings away in terms of my network, I ended up getting to know Angeli, who is a program manager for our design system. And after speaking to her, I knew for a fact this is something that I wanted to pursue. It had all the things that I was looking for, including, opportunities for problem solving, the type of environment that's always changing and iterating,
Hmm.
space to grow. Those are all the things that I wanted. So essentially, as I was exploring, I came up with a couple sets of, guiding principles, things that I was looking for, and I would evaluate each opportunity against those. That helped me really see where I could end up. And so, yes, I ended up on this team. And in terms of how I learned, I did 2 things. The first is that, of course, having some intellectual curiosity really helps, being genuinely interested in the space, genuinely interested in design and engineering, and, looking up things on my own, doing research, getting certified. I got a Scrum Master certification, and that helped kind of lay the groundwork. And I got some other certifications that helped in terms of project management as well. So having some intellectual curiosity and initiative there. But then
Hmm.
the second piece is that I had a mentor that I could count on, somebody specifically within engineering who would explain things to me in a way that makes sense to me. So I can always count on that person. And I still count on that person to this day to really help guide me in my learning.
Question: you're talking about engineering a lot. I think it's a super important aspect of the design system. I also think it's something that doesn't necessarily come natural to everyone in the UX space. How do you take engineering's perspective or learn enough to be dangerous with regards to a design system?
Yeah, so I think it's about having engineers in the room. When designers are iterating, finding a good place in the process to have an engineer present in the room to talk about, what's technically feasible, and that sort of thing really helps because yes, as a design system, we want to innovate, we want to grow, we want to have the best designs, but we also want to be able to deliver that to our customers. And at Adobe, that's a bunch of products. We
Mhm.
have over 100 products. So having and
Yeah.
maintaining a design system for that many products means that we do need the things that we design to be technically feasible.
So Deanna, you're talking about process management for a large enterprise design system, tons of moving pieces, extremely important tool for consistency across so many applications that Adobe has. How do you approach that? Walk us through some of the stakeholders, processes. How are you organizing, I guess, yeah, parts of this design system?
Of course. So first of all, I want to say that it's a team effort and I rely on that heavily, right? So sometimes I may not have the solution, but I may recognize a problem. And I really try to apply design thinking to how I improve processes or just try to solve problems. So I think first part of the problem is understanding, right? You have to understand what is the problem here? How can we improve as a team? Asking folks things like that, maybe even doing a survey to get some qualitative data behind understanding, and then taking a look at some of the data to understand, okay, what's the problem? Now let's move towards, all right, what are some potential solutions? I shop those solutions around to different folks, do some iteration, and then from there I pilot it. I always pilot different process improvements, especially for something that's so big. Not everyone is going to be on the same page. And so instead of sort of having that analysis paralysis that people can have where they want something to be perfect, I pilot a solution, maybe to a subset or maybe to a small group. And then we talk about how it's going. We check in and we iterate on the process and fix it up even better. And then I kind of broaden that reach. So that's really helped me sort of taking a step back, observing what things could be, making suggestions and trying to understand problems, but then just piloting them. Let's get started. Let's see how it works.
Makes a lot of sense. Let's switch gears and talk about advice you have for designers entering the field today.
One of the biggest pieces of advice that I can give to someone who's joining this field is do exactly what I just mentioned. Observe and notice things. If you notice that there's a problem or there's something that the team could be doing better, if there's an efficiency, if you have any feedback whatsoever, please share that with your leadership. There's always ways to improve. And sometimes leaders just don't know what needs to improve. Maybe you're the boots on the ground and you really understand things. So I think that if more folks shared more feedback, we can all get better together. So for any new designer, I definitely recommend for them to observe their team and make recommendations for how it can improve.
I think it's great advice. I think it can also be very intimidating to do that. How do you?
Of course.
How do you navigate that?
Maybe I'm lucky enough to work at a place like Adobe where feedback is always sort of open in terms of the culture and the environment. And so what I would recommend is maybe the person speak to their manager first and ask them, what's the best way that I could go about this? And maybe the manager can help them according to whatever organization they're a part of.
Where would you point people looking to learn more, or any resources you recommend?
Yes. So number one resource, at least for design systems, that I would recommend is actually looking at them. There's some really incredible design systems out there for various companies that we all know. So if there's a company that someone has in mind, you should look up, see if they have a design system, and then take a look, poke around. Some of them have different methodologies. Some of them extend further into UX, while others just stay closer to UI. So they vary, but you'll start to get a sense of, some of the foundational material and some of the things that are included in the design systems. And that helps you to understand, okay, now I understand what these things are.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Yes, thank you for having me. And